And I'm here just to call on you to finish, to cross the finishing line, to go through the last mile. And I know we can do it because I've seen communities come out of nothing and thrive with 1/10 of what the Latino community has. And you don't have to take my word for an answer, like I am a super proud Latina, of course who is not? But let's look at the numbers so that we can be on the same page about understanding that our time is now, and the only thing we need to do is give it to the last battle. Latinos, we are the driving force of America.
Yep.
Hispanic progress is American progress, and let me tell you why and how. Latinos, we're the people, and the census, oh my God, I love the census. The census has given us all the data, all the information of everything we knew. If you're a mayor, you will understand that the census is telling you everything, the picture of the future. How does America look like in the future is coming in the census. Now, Latinos, we're the people. We're the demographic. 62 million people, 19% of the population, 8% in Indiana, and growing. Why? Because we're one of the most, if not the most, interracial marriage in the country. We're very generous with our love. So we will continue expanding so much, that we're 19% of the population today, 25% in 5 years, 30.1% by 2050. That is, in 2050, 1 in every 4 American, if not less, is going to be Latino. Hello, hola. Hello, hola. We're the people. And not only we're the people, we're young. Every minute, a Latino turns 18. If you look at the average of the population age, who is 28 years old, that's a decade younger than the rest of the population. Latinas, we're 26 years old average. We look young because we're young. And if I want to leave you with one data point about understanding what I'm talking about, like the mode, remember, mode median average? The mode meaning the most common. The most common age of 62 million people today is 11 years old. The most common age of 62 million people today is 11 years old. The most common age of non-Latinos is 58. That's 4 decades of absolute pure growth, 4 decades of people going into school, becoming the workforce of the future, 4 decades of people that are going to be consumers, 4 decades of the people that are going to be paying the taxpayer. Do we get that? Youngest, but we're the economy. $2.6 trillion is the economy of the Latino population. That is, if we would put as a standalone economy, if we would put as a standalone, the Latino economy would be the 8th largest country in the world, larger than Brazil, larger than Italy, larger than Canada. Latino economy matters to America so much that we're 12% of the GDP of the country. And that 12% of the GDP, the gross domestic product, is growing 7% faster than China. So do you remember all those good days when people said, companies we have to go and invest in China because that's a decade of pure growth? Well, guess what? Latinos are 4 decades of pure growth and 7 times faster than China. That 12% of the GDP, honestly, it's we should just go out in the street and walk and say you're welcome, Mr. Mayor, you're welcome for the 12% of your salary, you're welcome for the 12% of your salary, you're welcome, don't worry, we got this. We're the economy, we're the people, we're the youth, we're the consumers. Latinos consumption means $1.7 trillion in purchasing power, $1.5 trillion in purchasing power 2 years ago. And you would think, with COVID, that's going to change. $1.9 trillion in purchasing power 2 years from now, because if there's one thing that happens, is that they can hit us, but they cannot, nos tiran, pero no nos tiran. So our economy is resilient, and we're coming back faster than any other group in America. We were disproportionately affected by COVID. We still are. And yet, we are disproportionately equipped to come back, and we're bringing it back. And in a country like America, that you have a workforce that is really essential, Latinos represent 40% of the workforce growth of this country. And the census has given us the opportunity to shatter, hacer pedacitos, los stereotypes that we have and the myths that we have. When you think Latinos, you're takers, you don't pay taxes. Latinos pay. In an aging America, 58 years old, remember? In an aging America, we are actually paying for the social security of Americans. We are like $100.1 billion in social security a year, $215 billion of taxes every year. So don't confuse us of not paying taxes. We are here bringing to the country. We're not takers, we're absolute makers. Anyone that has a little nerd inside of you, wake it up and bring it to the census so that you can actually start looking at the data and feeling every time more beautiful and powerful. But that will continue being. Why? Because of our values. Because Latinos believe in hard work. Yes?
Yes.
8 in every 10 Latinos have hard work at the top of their priorities. We take pride of that. Hard work. Because we've seen it from our parents, our mothers, and our grandmothers coming sometimes with bleeding hands of having 2 to 3 jobs, but they were proud to bring us the opportunities that we have today. Hard work. And we're ambitious. 6 in every 10 Latinos, once more, we want to have a house, we want to buy a car, we want to have that ambition, and we're optimistic. 73% of our community believes that their next generation is going to be better than we are. We are making the American dream keep going. We're at the heart of the American dream because we are optimistic and we're ambitious and we're fighters. 45% of our community has moved from the lower income quintile to the medium class in the last 10 years, making us the social mobility group that has 3 times faster than any other group in America. Aren't we proud of that? We're fighters, we're hard workers, we're ambitious, but most of all, we're family and friends. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that is what really matters. 85% of our community has 2 parents, which means we have social structures that will be stable, that will have values, that will actually connect and keep on going. That's why we over-index in the consumption of every single social media channel, from YouTube to Twitter to everything, because we want to be connected. So for me, it's absolutely clear. We're the voters, we're the taxpayers, we're the youth, we're the generals, we're all of that. And yet we're underrepresented, misrepresented, and undervalued. We're 19% of the population and only 1% in politics. We're 19% of the population and only 1% in clinical trials, only 1% in corporate boards, only 1% in family television programs. It makes no sense. We're powerful, but we're seen as weak. We're big, but we, even ourselves, we think of ourselves small. And if you start looking at that, it makes no sense. But we're ready. The reality is there. There's more tortilla sold than bread. There's more salsa sold than ketchup in this country. The reality is there. It happened. The people that have to catch up is us. And everyone to realize that we Latinos, we're powerful and positive contributors to this country. And that we have to be seen like that. And of course, I'm not suggesting that we don't have challenges. We have systemic barriers that we have to address. We need better education, better education, better education. That's why what you're doing is so important. And I applaud you, and that's why I took the flight. And I was like, I'm going to be here because what you're doing is important. We need better education. We need better gender equality. My God, our Latinas need to actually be, let's give it an applause for our Latinas. create small businesses 6 times faster than any other group in America. 86% of every single job since the Great Recession in this country has been created by Latinos. 50% of those by Latinas. So give it to my Latinas. So we need better education, better gender equality, better jobs, better paid jobs, better access to capital for our entrepreneurs so that we can scale up. And definitely we need better health, because this year has been struggling and hitting us in the face, so like there's no tomorrow. And we need better education and health education so that all of us can deal with the fears that we might have for things, for example, for vaccination. We need better investment in our language so that we can get the information that we need. So there's absolutely no question in my mind that we have systemic barriers, but my God, we're making progress even on those. We are in the right trajectory. So what I'm saying, what I'm coming here to do is, let's actually start working together in those things that we can remove right now. Those things that are not systemic barriers, that are barriers that we might ourselves putting on ourselves. And one of them, honestly, is like the lack of information of our own power. 77% of Latinos do not know anything that I just said. They don't know how powerful, how many we are, how young we are, how much we contribute to the country. We don't know. And if we don't know, how do we expect others to know? And how do we expect actually to have self-respect if we don't have social regard? So all of us, we really need to drink the Kool-Aid. I know, it hurts. It's hard. We've been beaten up so much that it's hard to actually take the mirror and say like, yeah, we're powerful. But we have to do it. We have to drink the Kool-Aid, take the mirror, and then show the mirror to everyone that you know. And go and tell everyone, you know what? Latinos, we're powerful. We're making it so that we can be proud. We need an absolute change in the education that we have of our own community. Number 2, we need to unify. We're so fragmented. 90% of the Latino community identifies as Latino, Hispanic, Latinx, whatever you want to use is fine. Anyways, it's only 2% of the population that cares. As long as you pay us well and respect us, you can use whatever you want. But 90% of us identify as Latinos, but do not act as a Latino community. Mexicans don't talk to Venezuelans. Oh my God, like Cubans of Chicago don't want to talk to the Cubans of Miami. So different than the Cubans of Los Angeles. My God, bananas. It's absolutely bananas that we're actually ourselves putting us in small bubbles. And when you're inside of a bubble, first of all, you think small. And then you start thinking that someone else that is inside of the bubble is going to take your oxygen. So you want to elbow that person because there's only so much that you can do. And we have to. We have to change the scarcity mentality for an abundance mentality. We have to. Because when you bust the bubble, you realize that we're so many, and if we would unite, we would be so powerful. But not only that, that the air is abundant for every one of us to breathe. That it doesn't matter if you're inside or outside. There's no one seat at the table because there's no table. There's only one country full of opportunities for every Latino if we support each other. If we open the door for each other, if we mentor each other, if we share the access code with each other, buy from each other. So we absolutely need to take into account that those things about being fragmented and being unaware of our own contributions lead for us to have, for example, 76% of Latinos that cannot be themselves at the workplace. And I'm sorry, but if you're like Eli Lilly or someone else, that's a tragedy. 76% of your Latino workforce cannot be themselves. So if you're Jorge, you come to work and you pretend to be George. And you leave yourself at home and you bring to work someone that you don't even know. And you're you're disenfranchising and disengaging because you can't be yourself. But also, the workplace is not only at risk of having a revolving door, you're losing the opportunity of having that emotional engagement that comes with every Latino by default. Our passion, our desire to progress, our desire to do forward. So we need to create more inclusive environments for our community so that we can shine and we can be there. And if there's one thing that I learned over the last 3 years that I've been working in this space, is that unites Latinos, right? Is it music? Is it like country of origin? Is it our language? Or, like what is it? And then I started looking at data, 38 million points of data that I was looking around, and I was like, if you look at it this way, you see the differences. But actually, if you shift your camera just a tiny bit, and you start looking at what really is the trajectory that every Latino is going, depending on whether they are, there's one thing that unites us, which is our desire to progress, to go forward, to move forward, to rise above everything that we have to rise above fear, rise above challenges, rise above COVID, rise above discrimination and rejection, rise above this like a place where you cannot be yourselves. We are forward. We look for progress. But here's the point. The higher you go in that line of progress, the lonelier it gets. The less support you have. And that is why it's just self-interest for all of us as Latinos to support each other. Because it's harder to push you around when you're the only one, when you're not the only one in the room. So let's forget about that mentality of elbowing each other and actually not understanding that there's a seat at the table, because it's of self-interest to realize that the higher we go in what we all want, which is progress, the lonelier it gets. So that we have to be united. And everybody, absolutely everybody wants to do the right thing. There's absolutely no question in my mind that over the last 3 years I've seen corporate America and governments and politicians wake up to the Latino vote or to the Latino community or to the Latino market, because the data is there. Everybody wants to do the right thing. We just have to understand how to make it simple so that everybody can actually generate change. And again, I've been there, done that for many different organizations where, for example, the creation of the Sustainable Development Goals, a framework that is a master plan for the people on the planet, and whether you're working on gender or environment or, or on education, we all belong into a frame that allows us to do better. So we created the Hispanic Star as a platform, as a framework, as a symbol for Latinos, like the rainbow for the LGBTQ, for Latinos to have something where we can identify and say, like, here's with each other. Whether you're Mexican, Colombian, Venezuelan, we don't have something that identifies us, so we created something so that we can have something that really, when you see it, it means Latino pride, unity, empowerment. But also, that it's a platform to showcase the incredible contributions of our community, so that we are seen of what we are, stars, positive. America is made of stars, and we Hispanics, we are one of them. And we're about to cross the finishing line of being able to deliver something that we hadn't had before. And all the conditions are given for us to really make that change. That change in which we will be the last generation of Latinos that is not seen, not heard, and not valued. We have all the conditions for the next generation to be able to be fully seen, fully paid, fully respected. And I'm here to ask you all to embrace the call. I know that transition generations, like what we are, historically is the hardest, is the most bruised. But we owe it to our ancestors. We owe it to the people that actually gave it all, their sacrifices, to have the first person that goes to college, the first person that is moving to a country so that we can keep on forward. So we owe it to them, and we owe it to the next generation to embrace the call and to stand up and to be proud and to start talking about Latino contributions to the country and to start unifying as community, opening the door for each other and supporting each other, buying from each other. We owe it to all our ancestors and to the future. So the only thing I want to say at the end is the role that we all will play in making sure that our stars are shining. And I want you to picture a sky. When stars shining together, they form a constellation. And in that constellation, we need the allies to support us, to believe in us, to open the door for us. We need the mayors that are showing up in a table. We need the people that care for our community and that are going to invest on us. So dream as yourselves as Hispanic stars. Dream that this is the last generation, that we will have to endure everything that we're enduring, and really open the door for the next generation so that we can be the power that we can be and that we are. I want to thank you so very much for inviting me here. And I want to leave you with the sense that America is made of stars, and we Hispanics, we're absolutely one of them. Thank you so much for having me.